All right. I am live. Usually it's a we, but we won't be having Glue Boy this week. I'm also changing the volume of my music. 1 second. As Glue Boy is off on vacation. But welcome everyone to Table Talk, where we'll talk all things tabletop. I'm your host, The Bad Luck Gamer, also the guy trying to adjust the volume. There it is. Perfect. Finally. And today we're going to have a very fun stream as we're going to be talking about the remaster, predominantly any of the questions you all have when you're looking stuff up. I'm posting videos every day, but obviously I gotta pace the content, otherwise I'll drive myself insane. So now's the perfect chance for you all to get in and ask your questions away so you can get your content immediately as a privilege for being here for the stream. So I know we only have a few people in here at the moment. More people will obviously be coming in, so we'll see. But in news, the channel in general has been doing great. I mean, since the last Table Talk we had, which was a pretty successful one, I might add, we got like 200 subs since last Friday, more than that at this point, which has been insane. Honestly, we've been having record-breaking numbers all over the account, whether it's, most views in a day, whether Mikey the goat cat. How did they change the death dying rules? This one's gonna be asked a lot. Sure. What's up? Who's messaging me? Okay. They didn't change anything about death and dying. The problem was it was conveyed in such a terrible way that people misunderstood what the rules meant pretty much everywhere. So, what the biggest change in all actuality is whenever you receive like any if you ever increase your dying value while you're already dying, you add your wounded value to the amount you increase it by. So, more or less, what has happened is if you go down and then come back up and then go down again where you're dying 2 because you're dying 1 plus wounded 1, if you fail your next death save, you're going to go down to dying 4 because you're going to get 1 more dying level, and because you got on a dying level, you're going to add your current wound level, which is 1, meaning you immediately go to dying 4. Everyone's saying that the system has become more deadly, but that was always the case if you read wounded and what happens. Now, I think it's a pretty universal thing at this point. Most everyone is just going to be playing it how they thought it was anyway. So for most tables, I'm sure in practice, nothing is going to change. But the biggest problem mostly lies in if your character goes down a second time. You pretty much need immediate aid, or you're left with a crapshoot whether your character lives or dies. Now, this also does bring value to feats like Die Hard, I believe, which increases your dying value by 1, which means you would actually survive. So that's cool. If you're playing like a much more intense game, then I think this is a good change. But honestly, it's like in practice, it doesn't affect almost anyone. It only affects people who are going down consistently time and time again. And yes, I'm currently aware. I'm wearing a green shirt, so my shirt is starting to phase away. I love this shirt. It's my Critical Role shirt. It feels so nice. It's one of my comfiest shirts, so I'm just going to wear it. You guys are just going to have to deal with glitchy me. Since the Sturdy Shield has become a completely useless item, why don't they remove it from the game? Sturdy Shield can get the benefit of the new rune, making it even still the best shield block rune in the game. So, it's not useless. If anything, they just made it so that you can shield block with other shields much easier without worrying about your shields immediately breaking. Get phased, dummy. I know. I've been watching. Oh, hey, thanks, Gray, for the sub. We'll be getting some new stuff for the Twitch channel as well as time goes on. It's just unfortunately the Twitch stuff changed literally right when I got the new stuff for the remaster. So I have not been able to add any more emotes or anything like that. I say it has become useless because it's more expensive than the reinforcing rune. I mean, it's still not that expensive an item, even like at base. Spiritual armaments. I haven't looked at the spells yet. I've been combing through the classes. It takes actually a good amount of time to comb through to see every change. And obviously I didn't do enough for Witch, so I've been taking my time. I haven't taken a look at all the spells, but I can definitely pull it up. Spiritual armaments. Let's see here. Here we go. You create a ghostly magical echo of one weapon you're wielding and wearing and fling it. Attempt a spell attack roll. Dealing 2d8 damage on hits. The damage is the same type as the chosen weapon. The attack deals spirit damage instead of that would be more detrimental. This attack uses and contributes to a multi-attack penalty. After the attack, the weapon returns to your side. If you sanctify the spell, the attack is sanctified as well. And okay, and then Spiritual Guardian. No. Let's see. And let's see how that changed. What level is this? 5? Okay. So let's see here. Yo, Devin. Thanks for the sub. I appreciate you. Thoughts on spiritual weapon and spiritual guardian that uses a weapon that's on you. I mean, it only uses the damage type of the weapon that's on you. That's about it. It's kind of like that whole situation with the reach, or not reach, with weapons with like the trip and whatever. It doesn't state that it uses your weapon's stuff whatsoever. All it states is that it uses the same damage as the Echo version of your weapon, or versatile, so, you know. Oh, it's a gift sub. Okay, thanks, Gray. Thanks for the gift sub. Why didn't I get a notification for gift subs? Might have to add that. That's good to know. Alright. I thought they explicitly said... I'm pretty sure I heard differently. I can pull it up, though. See, I had the books. We can do this. I'm here to answer questions. This is the whole point of the stream. Boom. Using items. Where is the... could swear there's a specific section just for the runes. Oh, you can see it here. Okay. I wish they had done that a little better. We want shield runes, which is the next section. There's only one reinforcing rune. More durable. Okay, reinforcing. Let's see. Only reinforcing. Oh, maybe it's beyond the hardness. They have maximums here. Because let's see. Oh, there's another thing. Oh, 1 second. Thank you, Andre Cardoso, for these sub. I appreciate you. Let's see. Force shield, indestructible shield. Sturdy shield. It's superior design. The steel shield has hardness that it has higher hardness than its non-magical counterparts, making it harder to break and destroy. It does not state anywhere that the shield rune can't be used on a sturdy shield. It does have maximums. But if you use higher level runes, then there's no reason why you can't level a higher level shield. You just can't. So essentially, like, a sturdy rune at the same level matches the sturdy shield at most. Well, depending, because you could have a lower level sturdy shield and put a higher level rune on it, like transferring runes, for instance, because higher level shields are more expensive. The transferring runes is relatively cheap, so it's just at a level. Okay, we have lots of people talking in chat here, so I'm apologizing if I haven't seen your stuff yet. Thoughts on spiritual armament and spiritual guardians? He can't gain the benefits because they can't increase durability of your shield beyond the maximum. Any cool adventuring? Can non-clerics be sanctified? Yes. What's your opinion on sharks? Sharks are smooth. Let's see. The first Zoom meeting done, and have learned I need to cover my window. Ah. Okay. Let's see. Any cool adventure campaign ideas for the remaster? Want to start a new campaign on the 15th, but don't have any idea what it's going to be yet. I mean, so Mikey the Goat Cat, it depends on, because they got some really cool ones. They got the War of the Immortal stuff coming out soon. Like, if you're just looking for like a homebrew general idea of what's going on, I mean, wizard stuff with the new schools and everything would be really cool. An idea of revolving around the new witches would be really cool. Messing around with the idea of how, like, holy and unholy works. Like, even though nothing really changes, I think there's some cool ideas around it, especially because sanctification isn't something that you can just do. You can't just do, like, good damage, you know, anymore. It's something that, like, needs to be bestowed upon you. How many more pluses did Fighter get? Fighter gets no pluses. Kind of sad there's no weapons in Player Core that has the reposition traits. Now reposition is the only athletics move you can't benefit from a weapon fundamental runes. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a very interesting point. something to consider. I guess that would just be a lot to remake a whole bunch of weapons just to fit one new maneuver. But that might be a design space they open up for later. No. What's your opinion on sharks? Thank you. In my opinion, the Sturdy Shield has become a completely useless item and bait for newcomers to spend more money. All in all, it was a buff for magic shields. I mean, okay, so let's take a look at like any of the magic shields because it doesn't take them to max. The initial one just increases any shield's hardness by 3, right? So if we take a look at what's a good like low level shield, cold iron shield, right? Its hardness is 3 starting out at level 2. And sturdy shield, what's level sturdy shield? Okay, well let's look at the level 4 cold iron shield. So level 4 cold iron shield. There is no level 4 cold iron shield. So until level 7, your cold iron shield will just not have the same block capacity as a sturdy shield. It will have 6, where the sturdy shield has 8. A 2-point difference is significant over the course of battle, and if you're repairing your shield and everything, it just stacks up over time. So, on average, sturdy shield will still give you more hardness, typically. Now, whether or not that you find that versus what the magic shield does plus having higher hardness is, you know, completely valid. That's just the balance of the game. If it's all about damage mitigation versus utility at that point. So, you know, on average, most shields will still not do as much as a sturdy shield would at that point. Personally, I'd probably take a magic shield with reinforcing more often than not. But, you know, it's something to consider for on a case-by-case basis. All right, got a bunch more people here. Yeah, I'm absolutely going to be replacing my sturdy shields. I mean, you know, like, so what if sturdy shields also just become useless, right? Isn't it better that other shields can be shield blocked with more easily than just maintaining sturdy shields? So, you know, I don't think losing sturdy shields would be a significant loss, but I will say they also have the higher damage mitigation of any shield at its level typically. But a bunch more people jumped in here, so if you weren't here earlier, I'm here to answer all questions about the remaster. You don't have to look in the book about it. Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that. And give you my opinions as well. I'm releasing all the classes first, and then I'll probably move on to spells and then some other stuff later. So, as, you know, now's the time to get the specific information you want if, you know, it's not all being done timely enough for you. I can't give you a whole rundown of things. I haven't obviously, like, spent a bunch of time writing out all the changes, but I can do my best. So, ask away. One thing that left me very frustrated is that the Errata Plus book was released without revision, and there were several points that will need errata. For example, the feat Arcane School Spell from Wizard Dedication. Is it because it uses the term school spell? Is that the point? Because I think, one second here. Yeah. Because they already call them school spells, like, in general. Now, if we go down to the wizard, one here, and the arcane school spell. You gain your school's initial school spell. If you don't already have one, you gain a focus point. Like, what needs to be fixed? Because they're still called school spells. If you don't already have one, you gain a focus pool of 1 focus point. Okay. What's that? What's the problem with that? Like, I'm just trying to understand what your problem is. I'm I'm definitely not saying that I didn't do anything wrong. I just want to understand what the issue is. It's just the same thing that they do with everything, where if it's possibly the first time a character is picking up a new feature of the game, they're going to specify how it works. No, because that's an interpretation that's overly reading into what it says. First of all, it says if you don't already have a focus pool, you gain one with 1 point in it. Now, if you read under focus points, it says anytime you gain a spell that uses the focus spell, you gain a point up to your maximum 3. There's no conflict. The feat itself is stating that if you don't have one, you now have this mechanic. That's all it says. If a GM is doing that, they're just intentionally playing the game wrong. Because it's obvious that's not what the point is. The subject of the sentence in question is having a focus pool. And so if you don't have one, you now have one with 1 point in it. So I don't know how at all any GM could be like, oh, well, you have focus points, so you don't get a focus spell. That's not how it works. You just look under focus spell and it tells you what happens when you get new focus spells. So did the psychic cantrips not change enough for them to errata the amps? So the remaster is predominantly what was found in the player or the core book, the GM's guide, and the advanced player's guide. So anything outside of those 3 books were not covered in the remaster, and instead they're going to be doing sweeping erratas of all the other books to bring them up to the level of the remaster, more or less. I don't know if they're going to actually do any significant changes on anything. They might, but that's essentially their idea. Odontus, that's what happens. Well, if you learned a new focus spell, it should increase your pool. It does. If you look under the rules for focus for focus spells. They very clearly, because this was an issue that was brought up time and time again, and they very intentionally changed it so that anytime you gain a focus spell, 296. I'll bring it up right now. Bum 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 bum. Dismissing spell text. Rules. All right, here's the focus spell section. Yeah. So here's the point in question. You automatically gain a focus pool the first time you gain an ability that gives you a focus spell. The maximum number of points in your pool is equal to the number of focus spells you know, or 3, whichever is lower. It's right in the rules. In fact, they're not even saying you're getting focus points. It just says your pool is equal to your number of known focus spells or 3, whichever is lower. And Yuki, so why does it say so if the general rule already covers it? It's so any player who's picking up focus points for the first time understand that they're now getting a focus spell or a focus pool. That's it. That's why. Okay, I was just curious because I saw Ignite and Frostbite and was thinking about the one hot and cold psychic. Yeah, Yuki. There was some situations where like a feat in particular didn't say you gained a focus point, and it was really just messy. So now they're just saying, they're no longer giving focus points. You have a pool equal to number of spells or 3, whichever is lower. That's it. The player should have read the rules, though. Well, it's only expected that the player has read the rules as much as what affects their character. It's unreasonable for a player to be versed in all rules when it's not relevant to how they play the game. If you're playing a fighter, you're going to learn the rules for how your armor works, how your weapons work, how your feats work, and how the traits on your feats work. It's not expected for you to know more than that. So when you gain a focus pool for the first time by selecting a feat, it tells you what you should know. Yeah, there was a lot of points. They just decided to make it easier. So everything has been changed in the remaster section. If you look under focus points, it tells you exactly how it works. Though, you know what? I'm thinking about it now under that direct wording. Technically, cantrips are focus spells, are they not? So then maybe there's an exception here. Oh, no. Okay, the next sentence. I didn't read it. My bad. I didn't read it. Yeah, the very next sentence say, this only counts for spells that require focus points to cast. So it does not work on hex cantrips or anything like that. So, yeah. No, there's no issues. Any other questions on the remaster? I'm here. Glue Boy will not be joining us this week. He's currently on vacation. We'll probably see him next week, but, holiday season's coming up, so things are going to be just very touch and go. Also, thank you so much for all those who might be here new to the channel. The channel has been growing astonishingly fast. Since last Table Talk, we've grown over 200 subs. We've hit record numbers on like video views in a day, on subs in a day, and heck, even like money earned in a day from watch time. So the channel's been doing really good. I'm very, very excited. I'm very surprised that not more of the heavy hitters have hit any of the class stuff yet, other than some of the stuff that Ronald touched in his videos. Oh no, an example against your justification would be that spellcaster archetypes don't have baked-in rules for how spellcasting works. Well, yeah, but not all focus spells are gained through spellcaster-specific archetypes. So, yeah. I mean, what are you arguing? You're sounding more pedantic than anything. The game is just giving you information. Like, what's the argument here? Why are you complaining? So proud of you, gamer. Thank you, Gwei. So I watched something about swap interaction. Is there a distinction about like worn versus stowed? Yes. So a stowed item is considered in your bag, and you need to interact first with a bag, and then you need to pull said item out of it. A worn item does not need to have that additional interaction. So that's the difference between stowed and worn. Or are you talking about, does the swap interaction have a distinction between worn and stowed? Ability scores are no more. Yes, now we just have ability bonuses. So you don't need to tell people why a 16 equals a +3. Classes only get +1, +2, +3, +4, +5, and potentially +6. Hey, Threlix, thanks for the sub today, then. Glad to have you on board. Do you have any idea what aggressive block fighter feat is now a reaction? Oh, do you have any idea why the aggressive block fighter feat is now a reaction? I'm going to make an assumption, but let me read it too. My assumption is, before reading it, that it was just a part of the reaction, and they're just making it a part of the shield block reaction, rather than two separate reactions. But let me take a gander, shall we? And this is so nice that I can look at the old rules still more easily, because Archive of Nethys won't be updated. I haven't heard anything specific, but I don't think they'll be upgraded until the 15th when it hits store shelves. You use the shield block reaction, and the opponents that triggered the shield block is adjacent to you and is your size or smaller. Whoa, that is weird. You push back as you block, knocking your foe away. You use your shield to push the triggering creature, either automatically shoving it 5 feet or causing it. You know what? Yeah, that is weird. I think that's a mistake. I think that's definitely a mistake in the book. It should either be a free action, or it should just say when you shield block, you can choose to yada yada yada. Because that's strange, yeah. How can you possibly use a reaction twice in a row? I don't know. Yeah, that seems like a mistake, honestly. That's very strange. Throw Kill X, I will be doing some stuff in the spells. I don't know how much I'll talk actually about them. I might just do videos by spell ranks instead. That will make it somewhat easier to do. But yeah. Yeah, you can get a second shield block reaction, but you shouldn't need that for that feat. That's very strange. Another sacred bovine barbecued. I don't know which bovine is being barbecued here. But yeah, aggressive block does just seem dumb, so that does need to be changed. Which is funny, and now I know, because I was going to do the fighter video tomorrow, so now I can mention that in the video. Oh, okay, the swap reaction needed... Okay, fair enough. Let's take a look at the swap reactions, shall we? Let's see, draw, put away, or swap. So it's a new type of interact action. Allows you to put away one item and draw another in the same action, such as putting away a dagger and drawing a mace. Abilities that specify what you do when you interact only allow this if they say so. Quick draw feat lets a rogue interact to draw. Okay, so a stowed weapon cannot be interact to draw. That's the difference. So no, you cannot swap with an item in your bag. It must be considered a worn item in order to be swapped. Scores, yes. Scores were dumb. I understood why they were there initially, because they were supposed to be like a positive negative scale. But negative scores are so underused that it was just something that was unnecessary to have in the first place. A spell tier list would be interesting for sure. You know, the the hard part is I only have so much time. And a lot of this content is only really relevant until the book releases. I'm going to do as much as I can to provide the stuff that people are looking for. And I've already promised to do a bonus video, so someday another video is going to come out. I'm going to have 2 videos in one day. I'm doing that for you guys, so I can do the hex spells for Witch, since I didn't go through the changes. And, you know, I'm atoning for my sins, more or less. So, I've been very, very busy. I've been very tired. I've been getting up early every day to write out and record videos. So, it's been a lot. And it's also just been a lot reading and trying to absorb all the information at once. Scores made sense for rolled ability scores. That's also the thing. And Pathfinder just wasn't really designed with that in mind. Some people still enjoy rolling their stats, though. So, you know, I'm happy that it's gone, because it was hard to explain to people why that was the case. Alignment, spell schools, ability scores, magic missile, all sacred cows being burned, I'm assuming is what you're saying there. Let's see. Did the warding aggression spell get changed at all? Warding aggression. That might not be in these books. 1 second. I can pull up warding aggression. Okay, so it was not in this book. So I think a lot of people are really confused what the remaster is. The remaster is a remastering of the core book, the GM book, and the Advanced Player's Guide. That's it. So anything outside those books, 1, are still legal and canon for your characters, and 2, most stuff that were not in the original books are going to get some sweeping erratas. They're probably not going to remaster every book that came out, but instead we're just going to get errated versions of those books and abilities. No more backstabbing with ballistas. Fair enough. One of my players has a inventor/wrestler build, and he is foaming at the mouth about all the new athletic stuff coming out of this, all the new athletic stuff coming out of his build or being added to his build. I'm curious, because athletics characters got some big buffs. Disarm is now really good, actually. I'm very excited. Inventory equals inventor. Oh, inventor wrestler. Did I even say? I think I knew what you were saying before. So if you're looking for anything that came in Secrets of Magic or all that kind of stuff, we can expect erratas, I'm sure, because Magus kind of got broken. So did Summoner, actually. Not a lot changed for the Guns and Gear stuff, though, I suppose. Being added, yeah, disarm and reposition. Both amazing actions. I was already doing a sentry reposition anyway. I was just making the players do a shove check, which it actually kind of sucks that you can't shove to do it, because what was mentioned earlier, which was a very fair point, was the reposition action doesn't get any bonuses from a weapon trait currently. So, yeah, I mean, you can still get an item bonus to athletics checks, so that works, but you can't get it from weapons, which is very interesting. Some good questions. So, how does weakness of sanctified, holy, or unholy work? Is it listed on the stat blocks of unholy holy creatures? I'm assuming it will be. We won't know until the Bestiary core, or Beast core, whatever it's called, which won't be until March, because that's when the official new like monster stuff is being released. I'll be doing some content on that. I'll mostly be talking about the dragons. So if you ask me at that point, I'll be able to ask it out. But I'm more or less, if a creature before does like evil damage or was like a fiend, or in general you can consider that creature being unholy, it sucks that we don't really have that information right now. Monster Core, it might be Monster Core. So it sucks that we just don't have that information yet, but it's really easy to assume most of the stuff. The only things that are not going to get holy unholy are creatures that are not directly tied to divinity in some form. You know, like angels, demons, devils, obviously. And, you know, up to GM discretion as well. So I do agree. I mean, so there's a lot of things, right? The remaster causes a lot of problems in the fact that it feels like people are playing two different editions when people know their stuff is going to be changing for their characters, but like 6 months later. And the same thing with the bestiary, how we don't know what creatures are actually classifying as holy, unholy. The Paizo creates ways for Spell Strike to not provoke. So there's a lot of stuff. They're also working really, really hard. But yeah, it almost would have been better to just have one giant errata thing even next year and just have everyone playing the same game. But I think they just wanted to get their stuff out as soon as possible because they didn't know how the OGL business was going to turn, and they just were trying to pivot real fast. So like the old editions and most of the rules, like most of the game works just the same. And with Player Core, it's one of those things where it's like now a lot of the basic functions of the game are made available. It's just the specifics on class to class basis. Oh, let's see. There's been a lot of stuff though. Let's see. Oh, here's a question. Yes. Does the subtle trait remove the manipulate trait? I think so. It's honestly a little interesting. Let me pull up that section real quick. Because I mentioned it in the video, but I haven't fully digested everything yet. It's doesn't have most of these spells enhance your. Can be cast without incantations and doesn't have obvious manifestations. So it does not state it removes manipulates, but it does make it harder to notice. I wonder if subtle shows up anywhere else here and I can get a better... Yeah, so... Subtle doesn't seem to remove manipulation, but it does make it harder to detect it's being happening, which is the point. We've been told undead will be unholy, and anything with good or evil weakness will probably be unholy. Yeah, and that's pretty much creative versus right. So if a creature normally has like good or evil weaknesses, they're probably unholy or holy, you know, respectively. So have Ratfolk finally gained a Tailblade? No. One thing I thought they would fix in the remaster is the general weapon or armor proficiency feats. They improved them a bit, but they're still useless. Kind of. Let's see. Let's take a look, because I do think they got up to expert proficiency. Someone mentioned that before. Yeah, you now get up to expert proficiency with armor proficiency, which is pretty good. And what was the other one? It was like weapon proficiency or something. Technically, weapon proficiency can make some classes expert sune, which is interesting. All right. Let's see. One thing. Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. Decrepit Kid. It's pretty much mostly outside of combat. I mean, that's when it was most useful anyway. If you're in combat, it doesn't really matter if the enemy knows you're casting the spell. There's always the step, but yeah, this is one of those things. As someone who use them to make a character work, they are not useless. What are we talking about? If you want to play a remaster cleric now, should spirit damage just be treated like force against anything with a soul, but also triggers good weaknesses? It depends on. So there's you're missing a lot of information there. I mean, treat spirit damage as spirit damage. I don't know why you gotta treat it as force damage. Some creatures will be getting spirit resistance as well. So, like, I don't know why you're trying to equate it to force, because it force is still force. Force still works on pretty much everything, while spirit damage doesn't. And it doesn't necessarily trigger good weaknesses, because your god might not demand you have a specific type of alignment. So, which archive methods received the whole change? Well, I think Cooperative Waffles, I know for a fact they have all the information already. They're inputting it, but I think as well they're to make the subscribers, obviously their investment in Paizo worthwhile. Obviously, they can't be just releasing the information like as soon as the subscribers would get it. So when it hits store shelves is about when we're going to see it from Archive and Nethys. I was talking about weapon and armor proficiency feats. I think they're good. In all honesty, like expert proficiency with like a martial weapon or something can be huge depending on what kind of build you're going for. Like, people always think getting weapon proficiencies for non-martial characters is pointless. It's about making a character. It's about making a character that does something specific. Yeah, I'm not making a martial character. I'm making a magic character who can use a weapon. There's a very different thing. They're doing different purposes. Let's say a player wants a cool weapon that isn't even that powerful, like a chainsword. They take the general feat to use the weapon properly, okay? However, they reach expert level 5, and the feat only makes them an expert at level 11. Okay. What about it? I will state that the fact that if I want to do this, it works correctly. I should take a general feat to adopt the Tengu ancestry and then take a Tengu specific feat. It bothers me quite a bit. I mean, I get what you're saying, kind of. Because doesn't weapon proficiency... One second. So, yeah, I mean, like, weapon proficiency isn't meant for characters like martial characters, right? If you're trying to get, like, the chain sword for whatever reason, and you're not, like, a martial character, you don't normally have access to it, then a single feat shouldn't just allow a character to transcend what their class has designed for them. I will say the weapon proficiency stuff works amazingly, especially for like ancestry weapons, because ancestry weapons go down a grade for weapon familiarity. So a normally advanced weapon can be used more easily by, like, my alchemist is trying to use a Dwarven War Axe, which is normally advanced, and I can pick it up pretty easy. I'm going through the fighter archetype, which if you're going the fighter archetype, that's almost like a better way to go about it because you can do it a little bit sooner, but technically weapon proficiency will get you that proficiency much sooner. Yeah, and there's also retraining feats, you know, like you can do it a different way and then retrain the feat out later and get something else when another thing could take it in. So, like, what I'm seeing is I want to use a weapon that's not normally available to my class as good as a martial character is typically capable of using it. Right. So, and if it's an advanced weapons typically offer something special. So the reduction in proficiency, typically, it makes sense. Like, even fighters have this issue with advanced weapons for the most part, so. Made a summoner with a scythe and heavy armor. The changes would have made it even better. Yeah, of course. And, like, most games don't get that late level anyway, so if you're concerned about not getting master proficiency, most players don't get master proficiency even when their classes get it anyway, you know? And even when you do, it's typically like level 17 or 19 or something, which is very late game. I mean, the whole enchilada... I'm sorry. Oh, I mean the whole enchilada, like everything online, all remaster rules. It isn't business savvy to do so. Releasing as they are allows tweaks before the next core release occurs. For, like, releasing all the remaster, like, everything, not everything is done yet. They're still working on remaster stuff. It's not like they're withholding Player Core 2 or anything for any reasons. The dragon stuff has to come out so that a lot of the classes with dragon answer stuff has to, you know, be updated. And they're also just working on it. They're also working on reformatting the books and everything. So they're just not even done with it yet. This has created a meta when you have to take 2 feats, one being general and one of a Tengu ancestry to get the Falcata, for example. I would love it for a non-fighter martial class had easier ways to make good use of advanced weapons. I mean, they're just advanced weapons. They're always going to be really hard. That's why they're special, you know? Warrior Muse is amazing. Oh gosh, if we're talking about my favorite things, man, War Priest looks like a lot of fun right now. Holy moly, War Priest looks really, really cool. They added so many feats to Cleric. War Priest is a very, very legitimate, like, martial caster at the highest degree without, like, being a magus. It's something that I think is very... I'm very, very happy with it. And Warrior Muse Bard, I mean, Bard is just really good. Bard's insane. I really like what they've done with Bard in general. It feels very... I mean, not much change. If anyone watched my video, not actually much change. Warrior Muse feels better. Giving Bard just general martial proficiency just kind of cleaned it up and makes Bards more versatile, which is what they wanted to go. Like, whenever people were questioning, like, why I was saying martial weapons is really powerful on Bard, it's because it's something that just other casters just don't have access to. And Bards have better ways of making use of martial weapons, and martial weapons are very strong if you want to go any kind of mixed build of casting and using weapons. Because, like, a lot of people honestly forget how easy it is to become almost as good as a martial with martial weapons as a non-martial character. Sure, you don't get the striking feats, which honestly makes up the big difference, but 2-hit gets really close very easy. I mean, I agree with the general idea. Magus against an enemy with reactive strike just generally sucks. Not gonna lie. But most enemies don't have it, so it's more often than not an issue. But Magus definitely shouldn't be triggering reactive strike on spell striking. It doesn't make sense, in all honesty. It should be like the point not to do so. War Priest with the monk dedication focus spells. Yeah, War Priest Irori monk sounds really cool. Or Irori cleric seems really cool. Plus, a lot of the fun domain spells you could get with Irori could make that work even better. I have a bard with the Warrior Muse from the extra Muse feat. Should be interesting since I have the Extend Courage spell. Yeah. Restorative Strike is really good. Like, oh goodness, there is so much that got bumped. Like, I like the idea that for the most part, Paizo didn't back away from the player base. They decided to double down and like give players more what they wanted. A lot of what has been added, and I'm sure what will be added in Player Core 2, kind of breaks their algorithm a little bit because everything was generally really insanely balanced before. It was really good. But the hard part is accessibility. Players wanting to get accessibility to do things they wanted to do was just much more restrictive. So, that being the case, they've decided to remove some of the restrictions to give classes more features. I mean, like, when you compare Bard to most other casters, Bard is pretty much just as good of a caster, and now they just have martial weapons. You know, like, how is that fair? Well, you know, the other classes do some other unique things and make it better in general. Wizards get more general versatility and all that kind of stuff. Witches have the best familiars out there. They really invested in the player, in the general like player groups, and I think that's really good. It still has to be maintained at a level of balance, and I feel like people just are itching to break the game. They want things to be more abusable, and they're just not going to get that. This is not the game for that. But I do think in general, a lot of the changes have been really good. I will say as well that Hot Swap second level fighter feat makes fighters that try and diversify a lot more viable as well. Yeah, fighter is going to get some really... I'm really excited to do the fighter video tomorrow. It's something that I feel like a lot of people are interested in. And I mean, like a lot of my videos, a lot of people are interested in. I'm generally surprised how much of the other like way bigger Pathfinder channels didn't decide to cover class material first. It's insane to me, you know. There's so much good material. I mean, our channel has grown significantly, you know, by like almost what, 10%? Almost 10% is like 8% or something. Like it's like 7.5%. Our channel has grown in 5 days or so, or no, almost a week, 6 days. So, oh well, I'll take it. I'll do all the class stuff before anyone else does. I'm gonna be posting through the weekend as well. I'm not taking a break until I feel satisfied, or the 15th, which I really hope I get satisfied before the 15th, because that's 13 more days of daily uploads, which I'm stressed about. Not gonna lie, but I want to get this material out for everyone and as well, because that's fun in the end. These kind of videos are fun, getting to talk with everyone about the changes, being on the cutting edge of the new stuff coming out is really fun. Anyway, if anyone has any other questions about the remaster stuff, I will be more than happy to answer it. I know we've been getting a lot of people kind of coming and going, so if you're new, I'm here to answer any questions about the remaster stuff you may have. Yeah, I do. You know, Lucas, I agree. I think opening the gods up to being more about or less about alignment and more about what the god cares about gives a lot of extra oomph to things like an evil god needed to be a villain, you know. But now there's no such thing as an evil god. There's unholy god, sure, but now they can have like more redeemable aspects in them because, you know, everything is not so cut and dry anymore. You really like how all traditions can use dragon form now? Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's because they're going to be adding a dragon for each tradition, so it wouldn't make sense that a caster couldn't turn into at least a dragon of their tradition. Honestly, I'm just curious if there's a spell that's had a good buff that I haven't heard about yet. Feels like most of the ones that changed got better. I mean, that was their overall impressions. They wanted to make spellcasting like uh, so one of the hard things about game creation in general is there's creating a perfectly balanced like picturesque game that works 100%, everything is very balanced and everything, and there's appeasing your audience who isn't designers of games, right? Like all the classes really before were very balanced. They were very balanced, and you can follow Michael Sayer on Twitter, and you can see a lot of like his posts about everything, and it really shows like the levels of understanding they have. But that level of understanding is far and away from what you can expect from your average player, obviously. Players and GMs in general are not meant to be designers. So accessibility of that balance and that power, which is not available. So by opening up some of the gates, by making things generally a little bit better, or at least on the surface for more players, they're just making more people happy, while somewhat pushing the boundaries and even breaking some of the balance they had initially made. Did they remove Eldritch Trickster? I actually didn't know that. Oh, yeah, they did. Wow, that's crazy. They did remove it. I just verified. It's not in core anyway. You know, maybe that was one of the things that, you know, like that's the problem when you put stress on a system to appease people, is sometimes something can unintentionally break, and so we might lose something that players are overall like very in love with. Elder Stricture was a big favorite amongst many players. Removing it is going to be a bit of a blow, I think, to a lot of people. My only guess was it will be that it will arrive in another errata later. But yeah, I guess because debilitating strikes, right? That's That is very unfortunate. I feel like that's the biggest loss from the book so far. I'll do my deep dive into Rogue. Some points, maybe soon. Someone mentioning they wanted Rogue. Maybe I'll do that for Saturday, and I'll take a look at it and see, like, the general scope. But removing Eldritch Trickster feels kind of bad. Maybe. I don't know. That's just the thing. Like I said, I've had a very potent build using the Elder Stricture, using the Psychic archetype. I was a bit sad. Sneak attack plus amp imaginary weapon. That does sound like a lot of fun, though. Honestly speaking. Psychic is so good for multi-classing, by the way. It's so good. I was playing in Age of Ashes, a Magus that was the Sparkling Targe, but I was using the Shield Cantrip, which was not the best way to do it, but that's the way I was doing it. Picking up the multi-archetype for Psychic and getting the multi-layered shield was really good. Very solid. Also, disarm. I'm scared. I'm scared of Swashbuckler now. Swashbuckler, I wonder how they're gonna change, because disarm is really good now. Disarm is essentially like similar to Sickened in the sense that it's just now a permanent attack debuff until the enemy spends an action to fix their grip, which burns action economy, and something Swashbucklers can just toss in disarms like left and right super easy. Weapon wielding enemies are going to suffer. Granted, there's plenty of enemies who don't use weapons, but still, I am excited, honestly. It'll be fun. I think Swashbucklers should be the most annoying people to fight in one-on-one combat. Like, that's kind of the point. You know, they're supposed to be the daredevil daring to in-your-face, flashy people who you want to hit because they're being really annoying. So, in reposition, I mean, I was already doing reposition essentially, but reposition now being its own thing is really cool, and maybe we'll see some really cool weapons with a reposition trait, which would be really cool. Though I don't know. I don't know how valuable that will be for players in general. How much people would prefer reposition over I mean, I would find most things hard to pick over trip, to be honest. Oh my god, disarm weapons got a huge buff. Woo! That's going to be really good. There's going to be a lot of really strong disarm builds now. Oh no. It's going to be good though. Rogue's disarm feat looks really good. Swap was good. The swap was really good, yeah. Being able to swap for a weapon you're currently having made many fighters super happy. To be fair, I fixed it in my games. I had it where stowing was a free action, so it was essentially the same thing as swap. So yeah, that already got fixed. Granted, in our games, we keep things a little bit higher pace. So I also let players draw as a part of a move action. So it's draw or stow. Or no. Draw as part of a move action, stow as a free action, yeah. That's how I did it. It made our games run really buttery smooth, to be honest. It just kind of removed a lot of the guff about. But swap for a rules as written raw is insanely helpful. You know, I'm curious. Who here has the book, or the books? Maybe just the book, because I honestly don't think many people would want the GM core unless they plan on running anyway. But we just also might have a bunch of GMs here, so I am curious because I figured this stream would have a lot more questions. I'm actually surprised. Our pre-remaster stream was literally the bigger of the two streams we've had so far, even though now I have all the answers and I'm not under embargo. Okay, not as many people as I thought. That's fair. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the content creator's curse, right? If I had unlimited time, I could just release all the material at once. But I also want people to come back to the channel every day, so this is just kind of the way that has to be done. And I guess the good thing about, you know what, I was kind of like, not criticizing, but I was kind of surprised when not everyone was talking about class stuff. The benefit of everyone talking about different things is the viewers, you know, get to see as a lot more information pretty much in a single day. So, you know what? Honestly, great for the viewers. Great for the viewers, honestly. Let's see. What are you most interested in playing now? Ah, that's such a rough question. What am I the most interested in playing now? That's a good question. That's a really good question. It's also hard because we're about to start Kingmaker, and I'm playing an Alchemist for it, which I'm so happy to do. I wish I had some cool stuff from Remaster to put into it, but you know, guess I just gotta wait a few months. You know, honestly, not Remaster, but my most recent build, Ultimate Trigger Brand, was actually a really fun build. So that build was probably the one I'm most interested in playing right now. But if I was to say from any of the classes that got released, Bard. It's either War Priest, Cleric, or Bard. War Priest, Cleric looks really good, but Bard, I think, just has a lot of fun secrets hidden. I think there's a lot of really fun things hidden in Bard right now that people are going to be discovering. Bard's probably really strong right now, honestly. But War Priest Cleric looks like it runs really well, so it'd be nice to get the idea of how that works. Any new Ranger focus spells? I don't think so. I can take a double look. The only one, the biggest one was Warden's Reload, which is allows you to reload a weapon after casting a focus spell, which is really good. Oh wait, what am I doing? I can just go to the Warden focus spells. Oh wait. Oh no, here we go. Wait, did they not put the Warden spells in here? When did the Warden spells come out? Advanced Player's Guide. Wait a second. Because Gravity Weapon was like a level 2 feat, was it not? Oh! That's interesting. Okay. The word spell. So wardens no longer have to select necessarily. I mean, they do have to select each feat, but essentially all the warden spells were combined into a singular feat. So it's kind of like domain spells. So now there's initiate warden, which allows you to gain your choice of one of the initial warden spells. And then, so then they must have added new feats then. Is that just, Or maybe Rangers just had a ton of feats. Because I know they're trying to balance them a lot more now. I'm not seeing anything popping out. That's very curious. I guess they're just kind of cutting down on space, which, I mean, good for them, you know. Ranger, gravity weapon, heal companion, magic hide, animal feature. Was animal feature one before? Yes. Enlarged companion. Oh, enlarged companion is now a level 2 focus spell, and it can be heightened to 4th. Cool. Hunter's Luck, Soothing Mists, Ephemeral Tracking, Ranger's Bramble, Hunter's Vision, Terrain Transposition. The only one, no, Hunter's Luck is there. Yeah, okay. So most of all of the spells are there. They just trim down the feats, which I guess makes sense. There's a small change I noticed. Ancestry lore feats now give you additional lore on your ancestry, so it auto scales. That's cool. Oh yeah, the adopted ancestry, or the... Yeah, now it's no longer limited to common ancestries. That's actually a pretty big change, honestly. But that's kind of one of those things where it's just like, a lot of people just ignored rarity, except for the most cautious of GMs. You know, I'm very interested in the new, like, the new way they're doing the half heritages or whatever they're called. Mixed ancestry. Yeah, mixed ancestry is really cool. Mixed ancestry, I think, is going to bring out a lot of very fun character ideas in general. Ancestry stuff in general, like, oh gosh, the Qianxia book that's coming out soon, I'm very excited for, because gonna mix elf with elf and become double elf. Yes. What do you think of the death and dying rolls? Ah, they seem deadly. I knew this one would come. That was the first question I received this stream. I'm surprised it took a whole hour and a half for it to come back around. How to create a character from the Qianxia to play as a Tengu, since in Qianxia, Tengus are common. Fair. I'm very excited about the new ancestries. I'm very excited about the new Kitsune feats, because they gotta come out with new Kitsune feats. Alright, so Mr. Blawface. No worries, no worries. It's a good point. It's a good time to talk about it. So, generally, the rules were always the same. It was just hard to understand because it was found in different, like, the original core book was so terrible because you had to rule hunt real bad. When I first started learning Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I struggled because it was really difficult to find specific rulings. This is just a rule that a lot of people didn't notice because they just forgot about it. But anytime your dying level, or you gain a dying level, or anytime your dying level increases, you add your wound level. So essentially how it would happen before is, well, how it happens and how it happens now is if you were dying and you failed your recovery check, you would gain dying plus your current wound level. So if you were dying 2 and wounded 1 and you failed your recovery check, your character is dead instantly unless you have Die Hard. The new changes makes the game somewhat deadlier. It's a lot deadlier it's a lot deadlier on your second down, but the first down still operates as much as what people thought it was. But now if you have a wound and you go down for whatever reason, you're way more likely to die. It creates urgency. It creates need for players to come in and save you more quickly. Most games, I've run some pretty dangerous encounters. Most of the time, my players never went down more than once, so it was never going to be an issue. And honestly, I think the general consensus from most, because I've seen on the Pathfinder creator server, most of the people there are just going to be playing the game how it was before, where they weren't adding the wound to failed recovery checks, which I think is completely valid. Death should be it should be toggleable, but it should be a sliding scale on how much you want death in your game. Because, there can be other stakes other than character death for failure in a fight. So, I feel like if you don't want to do the way that it's now written, you're just can do the old version just fine, and I don't think anyone's going to blame you for it. So, I don't know. Society play, I think, is going to go with it, but I'm not sure. Well, why is it confusing? It lets multi-class archetype feats, I think it's fine if you just picked a normal archetype with it, but I think it's also fine that it just stays specifically a multi-class archetype feat. In both core books, they talk about the first roll. Yeah, so, I don't... Even if I use it in my own games, which, honestly, I'll probably forget about it, if I'm being honest, I don't think it would come up often. Though the change does not change. The clarification does make certain feats like Die Hard feel better, because with Die Hard, going down with Wounded 1 is not necessarily super deadly anymore. So Die Hard becomes a very appealing feat. I think the confusion is, can you not select the archetype right from human? Let's see, 1 second. What's it say under human? Human. Oh gosh, humans are so far down. Yeah, it says the multi-class dedication feat specifically. So I don't know why that was never confusing. I think it said that before too. I'm gonna take a look. Yeah, it says dedication feat. I don't know why that would be confusing. Just noticed they nerfed most talismans. Does your group use talismans much? I'm pretty sure they're talking about making talismans much better. How are they nerfed? Will a half-orc Leshy just be called an orchid? I prefer Lesserk. You know, keep strong with your orc heritage. Have a very guttural sounding name. Lesserk. And to be fair, like, talismans are a type of equipment that people just forget about because the whole point is they're consumable. And players are just very hesitant to use consumable items in general. I use talismans, you know. But it's also just one of those things where just like whenever you go to town, you spend most of your money on permanent magic items. So consumables don't have a very high like value. Maybe Odontis. I mean, honestly, if you just selected another dedication, I don't think it causes a problem, honestly. If anything, I think that just makes your character more interesting, to be fair. I don't think that has any balancing issues either. But, you know, play how you want to play. Are consumables too expensive? Not really. Like, for anyone who's played D&D, consumables in Pathfinder are dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. The problem is not necessarily the price of consumable items. It's that players are more prone to spending as much money as possible on permanent items first. Then, with whatever money they have, they tend to buy healing potions. So then anything extra. And it's just, like, I think each person individually has a certain load of items they can manage on their character sheet or not. And so for some people, talismans are just a little too much. Spell hearts, I think, are really good, and spell hearts are something we use quite frequently. And I have had players definitely use talismans in our games before. The talismans always seemed kind of gimmicky for the most part, or there was just something that, like, I could buy this talisman, sure, and just have less gold, and it might be useful. Yeah, and I mean, that's also a fact, and spell hearts are overall just feel better in most situations. So, you know. I've started implementing a house rule where I don't let them buy permanents unless it's 2 below max level to see if that helps incentivize buying more consumable items. So, Decrepit Kid, actually, there's a better way to do this. You can find on like on Pathfinder Wiki or whatever, most settlements you can find generally the settlement's level. Thus, the players can only buy items up to the settlement's level. My players have to sometimes scrounge to find useful items because they'll just be out in the middle of nowhere and they come across a settlement level like 5 or something and they're level 10. So the highest magic items they can find are level 5. They actually have rules for this in the game as well. So, you know, now if they're like Absalom, then it makes less sense to make them unable to find certain kinds of items. But that's also what makes big cities more exciting for players because then they can buy items above their level if they have enough gold for it, which I think is completely fine, honestly. I don't think a game needs to be completely balanced at every step of the way. Whatever unbalancing you do, you can just fix as GM. Well, and that's just what I'm saying, is they keep running into like level 3, level 5 settlements, so they can't buy bigger items. But, you know, level 3, level 5, even level 7 have some decent like talismans you can apply that can just give your weapon an extra effect on crit, which I think is good. Talismans are useful. Practical, I think, is another question because Pathfinder is admittedly a very dense game. Characters have a lot of actions they have access to. Builds have lots of things kind of attached to them. So talismans might just be a step too far for most players. I like it. I think managing that stuff is kind of fun. But I definitely have players and have played with people who can't manage that much. So talismans are as useful as you would think. You know. My character always has a retrieval prism talisman with a healing potion for emergencies. Yeah, good. It's a good item. There's a lot of really good talismans in the game in general. What's another good one? The Fear Gem is actually really good because like it's a 2-action activate, but it essentially just gives you a fighter feat, and it's 20 gold pieces. And if you have the Intimidating Strike feature, it just makes it better. So for 20 gold pieces, getting a fighter feat or improving a fighter feat is honestly not bad. And if you're not using talismans already, like, you know, why not? What are my favorite consumables? Oh, that's a good question. I've been looking into consumables a lot lately because I've been looking into alchemists. Goodness, there's just a lot. Most of the generic alchemical bombs are actually really good. Like the lightning one, bottle lightning, just making an enemy off guard just on a hit. It's really powerful, honestly. It's just I hit and make enemy off guard. That's a feat. I put a retrieval prism on my shield. Not sure how useful that will be on some of the changes now. That's a good point. If I was just saying my favorites, though, my favorite is probably Bestial Mutagen. Bestial Mutagen is genuinely really good. Gives you bonus on athletics check. It can make a character who's not very combat savvy instantly combat savvy, or at least more than they were before. And they don't even need to be armed. Feather Token Ladder, always helpful. Also, Feather Token Boat. I do know that they were definitely giving some more love to the talismans. So I'd have to see, because someone was mentioning that they nerfed talismans. I feel like talismans didn't really change. Peshpine Grenade's also super solid. It's a really good one. There's, like, there's a lot of hidden strength in alchemical items, like, in general. I love the Mistform potion, actually, or Mistform elixir, because stacked up with the Sylphs... Oh, did they add those? Actually? Those archetype? Or those ancestry or heritages? Oh, wrong book. No. The Sylph one, that allows you to increase the flat check to hit. Not remaster related, but can you retrain the skills or feats that your background provides? No. But do I think doing so would break the game? No. So there you go. Do it if it makes the game better. Shout out to Blight Bomb, been with me since day one. Blight Bomb's also good. The number of like I recently discovered a build. I've found it, but I know it was something that people found before. Of the dual thrower alchemist can stack so many persistent damages on an enemy. It's insane. Mixed with quick bomber, like it's actually kind of dumb how much ish you can just throw at people. It's really, really fun. Smoke Soul, yeah, every pixel counts. Smoke Soul, that's that's what my alchemist is gonna go. I'm gonna go essentially a dwarven warrior alchemist who also just, you know, drinks a potion and becomes actually hard to hit and you need to make flat checks to hit them. It's going to be a lot of fun. Plus, there's that one dwarf feat that lets you see through smoke at level 9. So, smoke grenades are going to also be a thing. 2-weapon bombers OPS from Pathfinder 1 never really left us. Well, see, that's the thing, right? Is like, it has been there, but people did not see it because, again, it's many times people, enemy succeeds the check first try for every bomb. That is your luck, Slug. That was very much your luck. My point. So, like, I think one of the big things about Pathfinder 2nd Edition is that it's a game that is like 3D chess in a lot of ways. You could be playing on like a level, but people don't realize the benefits of hopping up to higher or lower levels. And so people can miss complete aspects, complete strategies in the game. Alchemical items have always been insanely strong. And Alchemist was always really good because at any moment they could pull out exactly what they need. And with the use of certain like mutagens or whatever, they could be almost as good as a marshal and more flexible than a caster if you're persistent enough about filling up your formula book. But people didn't see that. And so people said that Alchemist was weak. And it's just quite the contrary, honestly. I've been making my dwarf build, which honestly was mostly core. Yeah, I mean, that one can work too. I wanted smoke specifically. One, for character background reasons, but two, because then I could use the smoke stick and or the alchemist feat that lets any bomb you make become a smoke bomb, and combine that with the one dwarf feat that they got from Danganhold that allows them to see in smoke. Yeah, Alchemist, I mean, like, that's the thing about Alchemist. People also hated how Alchemist for its individual power, when the strength of an Alchemist is what it could do for its party in, like, every aspect. Especially because many of their elixirs and mutagens last for an hour, so many parties could easily be super buffed before they even start a fight. Like, there's very few classes as good at buffing as Alchemist, just because their effects last way longer. Any new ranged related feats for fighters or rogues? I haven't seen any yet. So we'll have to see. Rogue possibly could have. I don't think fighter got anything range specific though. I didn't see anything on my checkovers, but fighter video coming out tomorrow, and rogue video coming out the day after that. I'm deciding now. We're doing rogue on Saturday. So stay tuned on the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like the stream. I don't care if you like the stream. I don't expect a lot of people to come watch the stream to get sparse answers occasionally. Does the remaster make poison-focused characters more viable? Maybe. Not in Core 1, though, because it doesn't have the archetypes for the most part. The poisons are always good, though. I mean, if you want your whole thing to be poison, poisons were always good, so I don't know. I don't know what you mean by more viable. They were always pretty viable. If you're talking about like poison DCs, then no. But that's because you're probably not trying to use poisons in conjunction with things that reduce enemy fort saves. That's a good question, actually. You know, I'll answer this question about Rogue. Did Ruffian Rogue get any changes due to the martial proficiency? I do know they still have very specific requirements for their particular sneak attacks. Ruffian. You can deal sneak attack damage with any weapon, not just the weapons listed in the sneak attack class feature. This benefit doesn't apply to simple weapons with a damage die greater than a D8, or martial or advanced weapons with a damage die greater than a D6. Critical hits you make with these weapons gain critical specialization benefits. If the target is off guard to you, you're trained in intimidation, yada yada. Any ruffian-related feats, though, that improve that? My head hurts. I've been doing this so much lately. Like, quick analyzing entire classes. My eyes are hurting too. Bum, 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 bum. It does not look like there's any feats about it. Or at least not for Ruffian specifically. There might be good feats for it. I did not read each of the feats just now. I just looked to see what one was for Ruffian. But yeah, so Ruffian did change. So Ruffian, for instance, now can use its sneak attack with any simple weapon that does a D8 or less, or any martial weapon with martial or advanced weapon with a die of D6 or less. So no inflict mace sneak attacks. Yeah, didn't no inflict mace get reduced down to a D6 too? I think they meant if there are more poisons that can deal with poison immune creatures, like the ones that deal positive damage. I don't think they did that in this book. I can take a quick look at poisons, though. There it is. Not in this book, anyway. They might do more. What is your favorite thing? What's my favorite thing in the player core? It has to be the changes to Witch. I don't think Witch was bad by any means, but Witch just felt like the class that just copied everyone else's homework, you know? So now Witch having a lot more unique features and genuinely having the best familiars in the game was huge. So I think that's got to be my favorite part just in general. As a person who wants, you know, Witch players to feel more validated in their choices, and as someone who's thought about making Witch characters before, because I think Witch is still really strong. I think Cackle's one of the best feats in the game, honestly, for some of the shenanigans you can do with it. But now Witch genuinely feels better, more story-filled. Also, you know, like, if I could tie something to that, the changes to War Priests. I feel like War Priest just feels like a more legitimate playstyle than it ever did. So, yeah, I mean, okay, so my thing is, now the player core has legitimized more player playstyles, which I think is huge. You know what? I hope they come out with a book that has way more advanced weapons in it. I know advanced weapons are really hard to get, but man, I want to sink my teeth into some more advanced weapons. There's some really cool ones, especially with like the addition of guns and gears with the advanced weapons they added there. My alchemist, my dwarf alchemist, funny enough, just by taking the fighter archetype dedication, I can just utilize a lot of advanced dwarf weapons, which is really cool. I will be doing a whole video on the changes to hexes as recompense for not mentioning it. Most of the changes to the hex cantrips are that the enemies no longer are immune to them for the most part. And I'll even make special mention of Shroud of Night. So, Shroud of Night blankets the target's eyes. If you cast this hex on a... or blah, blah, blah. It's a will save. It's sustained up to a minute, and it makes the enemy gain... or it covers the enemy in darkness, making bright light as though it was dim light. And unless it has greater dark visions, all creatures are concealed to it on failure. Which might have been a change from before, actually. Oh, misclick. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Yeah, it did change actually. It was before dark vision, it just was dark vision. Now they need greater dark vision to not have characters conceal it to them. Any crazy character idea based on the remaster? Yeah, and I will do. It was my bad. The Witch was a lot, and I just didn't want to do more. I will do a bonus video at some point when I find the time, and I'll go over all the hex cantrips. So the hex cantrips will be added to... will be a video, and it'll be a bonus video, so it won't even take up a whole day's worth of videos. It'll just be something extra. I will go over each of them and all the changes. Well, I will go over each of the ones that changed, which were, I think, is most of them. So, crazy ideas, character-based ideas on the remaster. Oh God, you know what? Honestly, a Juggernaut War Priest Cleric sounds like a lot of fun. Thank you, Tahail Ludi, for the sub. Sorry if I got your name wrong. But yeah, like, because War Priest can now much more easily get up to heavy armor. They have really good abilities to like Channel Smite and Rebounding Smite actually are really good. And I feel like you could play a very, very nasty... Oh, Zealous Charge, too. Like, there's a really good way to just play a very upfront, tanky War Priest. And I'm all for it, you know. Go for Gorham. More blood for the Blood God, Gorham. I think that's the funnest idea for a build. Is just go full hog wild on Juggernaut War Priest. I think it's really cool. All right, we're coming up to the end here, so if anyone has any more questions, now is the time. Oh. Oh. Bean. Bean. Here, Bean. Here, Bean. Ugh. I have cat. Oh, he did not want to be held. No, which lesson stayed mostly the same. I did verify that one. That was the one I did overlook. I didn't look over the cantrips because I didn't realize the hex cantrips were in a different section. But that was just my bad. I was just fatigued. Reading a bunch of information. Bean, do not knock stuff over. Oh, I knew you would. Top 3 favorite changes. Changes to Witch, changes to War Priest, changes to Bard. Which is why I did all 3 of those videos. And Wizard. But Wizard really didn't change, actually, all too much. That was one a lot of people were curious about. But changes to those classes, I think, are bigger than anything. I could do more. I could do 5. Because change to Disarm, making it good. Solid. Reposition, swap, good. There's a lot of really good things. What's your favorite thing in Player Core? Any crazy ideas? Yeah, okay. All right, so we're heading to the end of stream here today. There is going to be more content. I'm going to be releasing more remaster stuff pretty much up until the day that the remaster comes out, unless I feel like there's nothing more to talk about. I'm going to be making videos on the weekend. Every day, typically around 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, before or after. It depends on how much effort goes into the video. Some videos just require more effort than others. As well, as soon as all this remaster stuff is done, we are now affiliated on Twitch. And so because of that, we're going to be adding a bunch more custom emotes, and we're going to be adding a bunch more of we're gonna be adding like dono things, you know, voice alerts, all that kind of stuff. So the channel is going to be getting a lot more interactive, at least on the Twitch side of things. I wish YouTube had more to do, but there really isn't yet. There will be stuff for sure. And as well, channel's growing. We're gonna be hitting 4K. Honestly, we'll probably hit 4K subs I want to hit 4K by the end of next week. We'll see where that goes, but I want to hit 4K by the end of next week. If not, by the end of the month. And yeah, channel's doing really good. Honestly, the remaster has been really great. Expect more content of the same. If you have yet to do so, please subscribe to the channel. And if you want to chat with people, we have tons of people chatting about, Pathfinder and Warhammer and other tabletop all the time, you can join us in the description or below on Twitch, our official Discord, where, you know, people, I chime in as much as I can, you know, with as busy as I've been. And yeah, thank you so much, Folimus. Hopefully I can make more content that you'd like to see. Honestly, that's my goal for all this kind of stuff. So we'll probably have Glue Boy next week, and maybe we'll do another round of Remaster Q&A like the week before it comes out. Because I believe next Thursday is the 9th. Yeah, and then it'll be out by next Wednesday after that. Did they also change any which... Oh, no, I spread that one. So, yeah, that is it for today's stream. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a nice night. I'll be back with another video tomorrow, and if Fighter's a very short video, Hex video will also come out tomorrow. So, I'll see y'all then. Good night.